What's going on, Internet? Iron Jordan here. Today, we're going to dive into a pretty deep topic, but one that I think is pretty important. We're going to talk about how it's important for Bandai to step up at this moment in time. And before you click away from the video, no, this is not a negative video. This is actually not even me criticizing Bandai at all. I'm actually going to be very critical of other card game companies and why I think it's time for Bandai to step up and show that they can be a leader in the TCG market and how they can kind of snatch a higher position than where they're at right now. So right now we're on ICV2, which is a place that you can track the sales of different hobbies, specifically collectible game hobbies. And currently, so far for this year, for 2020, we have the sales number out of hobby stores for collectible games. Now, this list down here is where you'll see the top card games, the top hobby games, the top collectible games. And you'll see as we go down the list, it starts with Magic. Magic is the big daddy. It has always been the big daddy, and it will probably always be the big daddy. You got Pokemon and Yu Gi Oh! As well following it. Now, there's a pretty big gap between Magic and Pokemon, and there's a pretty big gap between Pokemon and Yu Gi Oh! But the gap between Yu Gi Oh! And the next card game is even larger. So these are the big three. People talk about the big three in anime, people talk about the big three in card games. These are the big three. These are the established card games that have been around. All of them have been around for at least 20 years, if I recall correctly. I think that Yu-Gi-Oh is actually the youngest of these, going back to the early 2000s. So maybe not quite 20 years for Yu-Gi-Oh, but all of these games have problems with them. No game is perfect. However, recently, Magic the Gathering has been handled extremely poorly by Wizards of the Coast. Now, I am a Magic player. I have been playing Magic for years. I am an in-franchise Magic player, and I would love to continue to be. However, Wizards continuously destroys the confidence in their community, destroys the confidence in their player base, and kind of treats us as cash cows. Now, Konami does the same thing. I used to play Yu Gi Oh! Back in the day. I actually played semi competitively. However, I just started becoming more and more aware of how Konami treats their player base. They look at them as a cash cow, they look at them as a piggy bank, as a wallet, and a lot of the practices that Konami does, like rarity bumps and short prints and all this other stuff, the pull rates are terrible. Hey, why do I need to buy three $80 secret rares for a playset just to have a decent deck? Stuff like that. These games have always been bad. Now, I can't speak to Pokemon too much. I've never even really played the game. I've actually picked up a deck that somebody was willing to let me use and try to teach me how to play the game, and it was all right, but I was never really a big fan of it, so I never got into it like I did the other two, where I had vast collections of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and even now I have a vast collection of Magic cards, as I still love the game. However, when we go down further past the big three, you see that there is D&D Icons of the Realm, which is not a card game. It's not a card game at all. This is literally just the miniatures that's used for D&D. D&D is pretty big, so obviously it's going to be up there. You can just go ahead and throw that out, and you can move everything up a slot. So at 4, we actually have Card Fight Vanguard. So this game has been around for a while. I remember when this game first came out. I actually did play a little bit of this game. We had a small casual scene at my LGS, but it never really went anywhere. And the game's popularity has kind of waned, but it's still hanging in there. And right after it, we have Dragon Ball Super, and that rounds up the top 5. Now, when you get past the top 5, you start seeing games that are dead or dying. Final Fantasy, I believe, just got discontinued recently. Vice Spots, I don't know how that game's doing, but I never see it around anywhere. The Transformers TCG got discontinued, and so did Star Wars Destiny. So even being in the top 10 TCGs is not. It doesn't let you be safe. It doesn't let you be safe. And Keyforge used to be in this list as well. Keyforge actually had higher sales numbers than Yu-Gi-Oh when it first came out, but it's dropped off pretty hard. So it's very hard to maintain relevance as a TCG, and it's very hard to stay alive and stay afloat. However, everything at Dragon Ball Super and higher tier has been able to do it very well. I actually think DBS is in a really good position right now. I think that Bandai handles Dragon Ball extremely well, with the exception of draft boxes. If they just got rid of draft boxes, then the game would be so good to play. as a player. Outside of that, it's really easy to build a deck. I actually feel encouraged to buy product of DBS because it's always worth it. Even buying booster boxes feels good, as like whenever you go buy a booster box of Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, it's a big gamble. You're either hitting the good secret rare and you're plussing really hard, or you're whiffing totally and wasting your money. Magic can be a little bit of the same thing, but there's multiple different formats that you can play in, which is something that Konami never really figured out, and I hope that Bandai does at some point, that you do need multiple formats to keep your game afloat. Because if people get bored of standard, if people get bored of constructed, then they can go play something else. So even when you go buy a box of Magic, it doesn't even feel that bad if you whiff a little bit, because there's typically other things that go along with that, or other cards that be played in other formats, especially if you play multiple formats. So I digress on that. But anyway, DBS is in a really good spot right now. I just don't think it's where it needs to be. Now, we're going to switch over a little bit to the Secret Lair Twitter. Now, this is this Secret Lair, for those of you who don't know, is a product by Wizards of the Coast, by Magic the Gathering. This is basically, it was meant to be a secret drop series, not even a secret drop series, but a limited time drop series of alternate art cards of cards that already existed. For example, I actually bought one of these. I bought the one for Bitter Blossom. Bitter Blossom was like a $40 card. They were offering a secret lair for $30, which is really just a company, selling singles. But it's a limited time thing. It had nice art. It came with really nice tokens. And so I was able to buy that card at a single price, cheaper actually, and get a prettier version. And so I put it in a commander deck. And I felt like it was alright. But that was when secret rares really first started. But as they've kept going on, we've seen that these things are really just a cash grab from Wizards. They are really just a predatory way for Wizards to make money and to prey on people's fear of missing out, FOMO. Weaponized FOMO is what these things are. And now it's kind of culminated in this, as you can see on the screen, Secret Lair X The Walking Dead. And I honestly would have no problem with this. We've had crossovers before in Magic the Gathering. We've had Transformers crossovers. We've had My Little Pony crossovers. We've had a Godzilla crossover even as recently as not even a year ago with Ikoria. Actually, it was this year because it was during quarantine. I remember it. But I digress. We've had crossovers before in MTG. There's a sort of D&D in Magic the Gathering. The difference being that these cards, these brand new cards for the Secret Lair, are playable in Constructed. They're playable in Commander, they're playable in Legacy, and they're playable in Vintage. These are also unique playable cards with unique mechanics. These cards are not skins like the Godzilla cards. So when we look at the Godzilla cards were essentially a card that already existed but with a Godzilla skin on it. They aren't silver bordered cards. Now, silver bordered cards, for people that don't play Magic, are cards that are not legal in play. However, you can play with them if your opponent agrees to them. Like, for example, if you want to play Commander and you want to have a My Little Pony commander, or if you want to have a Transformer commander, you can agree with your friends at the start that that card is legal for that game, and there you go. It's called Rule Zero in Commander. However, these cards are just legal. Straight up, they're just legal. The problem with this, it wouldn't even be that much of an issue, but the problem with this is it's a limited print run set that you can only order. I think it's only available for a week. Actually, some of these secret lairs are only available for a day, so we'll see how long these things are available for. And they're mechanically unique, meaning there's no other alternative for what these cards do. That's the problem with this. So Wizards has really betrayed the trust of their players. They've said that they hear the outrage. People are overwhelmingly distraught about this. But this has been a path that Wizards of the Coast has been going on for the better part of 2 or 3 years. It started with Standard becoming absolute dog pile, basically. It's really horrible. Their premier leading constructed tournament level format is really bad. They're killing their older formats by refusing to reprint necessary cards like fetch lands, and when they do, it's a smack in the face to the players. Fun fact, they did it in a secret rare like this, and it ended up being hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It was insane, so it didn't help that at all. And then they do stuff like this. It's just icing on the cake. Now, how does this tie into Bandai? Well, as we have seen before, as we looked about a few minutes ago, Magic the Gathering is the top dog. However, as a Magic player, I feel very disenfranchised right now. I stopped buying Magic product a while ago. Very rarely will I buy Magic product. it's specifically sealed. Like I will buy singles and stuff like that. That's whatever, but I do not buy a sealed Magic product very often anymore. And part of it is because Wizards of the Coast has completely destroyed my trust. Now, when it comes to Bandai, though, I buy like two boxes a set at least, and then starter decks and all that other stuff because I feel good supporting DBS because the game makes me feel good to play. It makes me feel like they actually care. The Bandai listens to the players, and now we get stuff like this. Like when we look at the when we looked at this new stuff, we actually have these events here. As we go over to the Dragon Ball Super page itself, we have these store championships. They're adding these little reprint packs. They're called Revision Packs 2020. And they've even got secret rares in them. Now, they're not super valuable secret rares, but they're still secret rares. It's really, I don't know, it just really shows that Bandai kind of cares. And as a card game player, yeah, I get it. You're after my money. I understand. That's how corporations work. That's how business works. You're after my money. But this feels bad. This is not good. This is how you ruin your player base. This is how you upset your player base to the point where they stop playing. And I'll be honest, guys, as an enfranchised Magic player who's been playing for years, I'm feeling pretty close to being there. So, like I said, Konami has been a garbage company forever. They don't treat their players like they've literally shell shocked their players into defending all the bad practices that they do, and Yu-Gi-Oh players will just defend them until from sun up to sundown over their bad practices, and it doesn't matter. Look, man, Magic players are not having it. And honestly, I wouldn't blame a lot of Magic players if they were looking for another place to play. And that's where DBS comes in. That's where Digimon comes in. Like we talked about DBS, but Digimon is a new up and coming game, and it's a IP that people really enjoy. The community is already growing really fast. If you look at the Facebook group, it's already got over half the members of the DBS community. It's only been around for a few months, I guess, and the DBS community has been open for almost 4 years. So we've got all these things going for us with Bandai. Bandai, just please don't mess this up. Listen to your players. Continue to listen. Continue to take notes. Keep doing things like this. This is really cool. This shows that and this is just kind of a thing that you get extra with your tournament packs, from what I understand. Like this is really nice. This is really good. Keep doing things like this. Keep making product that is worth it. Cut draft boxes. That's one thing that actually needs to go. Draft boxes completely need to go. Rework the formula on draft boxes. That actually needs to happen. But if you can do that, then this game will feel so good to play as opposed to other things. It'll be. I mean, like I remember walking into Magic tournaments and seeing Yu-Gi-Oh players and then being like, "Oh, you want to play Yu-Gi-Oh?" I'll be like, "Why would I want to play Yu-Gi-Oh? Why would I want to, support a game that doesn't, the company doesn't care about me. They're just after my wallet, all that other stuff." And Magic has become that, but DBS doesn't feel like that. And that's what I'm trying to get to in this video. I know this video has been kind of ranty, kind of ravey, kind of rambly, but I'm pretty passionate about this. I really consider myself to be a consumer advocate, and I want players to be able to get the most of their money. The players are the ones that support the company by giving them their money. Then the company needs to support the players somewhat by making them feel like their support is worth it, by making them feel like their financial support is worth doing it. And that's just all this video comes down to. Bandai, you're doing an excellent job. Keep listening to the community. Find other good ways to reward the community for their support. You're doing excellent, baby. Keep it up. We love you. Can't wait for Digimon. It's exciting. Okay, I'm done with the video. If you guys liked it, like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to be having a lot more videos. Mostly, like I said, I know this video focused on Magic a lot, but we mostly focus on the Dragon Ball card game here on Dragon Ball Super, and we also will be doing a lot of Digimon content, especially since we get closer to the November pre-release that comes up in about a month or so. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm done rambling, and I'll see you guys in the next one.